Okay, are we ready to go? This is the debate between sheriff candidates in the primary election. And we have three. We have Mike Thomas, we have Tony Liggett, and we have Hoard. Probably everybody knows about everybody. So we're going to do, first we'll do introductions, and we'll start with Mike because he drew the number one. And so go ahead, Mike. Well, you can do it for 5 minutes if you want to, but you know, I thought the last one was not going to take that long, so you might want to, 4 minutes, whatever. Say what you want.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Thomas, and I'm here. I'm going to be running for Carroll County Sheriff. There's one thing I want to ask. What is very important to all of you? The most important thing that you have, what is important to you? Anybody want to take a guess? Probably your kids, right? Right. One of the scariest things out there right now is all the predators that are out there. There's a lot of them on the internet, everywhere. And how much of that, well, can anybody tell me what the difference is between the internet and the World Wide Web? Anyone? The internet is the infrastructure. The World Wide Web is what you search on. And in that, there's also the dark web. Do you know that the search of Google and all those search engines only use 4% of that? The rest of it's being used through the dark web. And there's a lot of things that go into that. There's all kinds of bad people using that. Terrorists, your child pornographers, all that kind of stuff. And what we need on this department is somebody that can break through some of that stuff. We need to keep our kids safe. That's more important, I think, than anything else going on right now, is keeping our kids safe. I've got 25 years basically at the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. I probably got a little more experience than that if you count all the part-time jobs that I've had. I've worked for Monticello, Flora, Delphi, Dayton, and then I also worked animal control for about 5 years for Tippecanoe County. So quite a bit of years there and experience. The other thing I'd like to bring up is about mental health. Mental health is very, very important in this world, especially now. We have more mental health problems than ever. Matter of fact, the Cook County Sheriff said he holds the largest mental hospital in the state of Illinois, and I would tend to agree with that. So I've been working with Mental Health America, Valley Oaks, and talking to several other groups to try to get that in. I believe it's important, and it's what we need to do. The other thing I think is important is accountability. You've got to have accountability, people. Right? I mean, how can you have accountability if everybody's your buddy? It's lonely at the top. Very lonely. Because you can't go out and have a beer with him and then write him up the next day. It just doesn't work. That's why bosses aren't friends with a lot of the employees. Doesn't mean you can't be nice to them and friendly, but it doesn't work if you're going to socialize with them. Animal control. We have another problem in this county is animal control. In my years of experience as an animal control officer, I've seen it firsthand. I've also seen what we have right now, and it's not working very well because we don't have a place to take them. And we need a place to be able to take them. And then another thing that seems to be popping up a lot is arson. We have several fatalities, crimes caused by arson. So we got a good person on that team to help figure it out. And he's done a remarkable job, and we need to keep that going, and we need to enhance it. Anyways, my name is Mike Thomas. I'm the Chief Deputy for the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. I've been on for 25 years, and I would like to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
First, I'd like to thank everybody that came tonight and the comment, Debbie, for giving us a chance to to speak to the citizens. My name is Tony Liggett. I've been a detective at the Carroll County Sheriff's Office since 2016. I've been involved in law enforcement since 2001. I've lived in Carroll County for 40 plus years. I grew up right here in Delphi, and I graduated in 1990 from Delphi High School. My wife Catherine and I, we've lived in Cutler for 15 years. She's a registered nurse at Franciscan. Together we have one daughter and 3 sons. My youngest son, Cole, passed away in 2013 from a car crash. I have a business management degree and owned a small business in Lafayette prior to getting into law enforcement. I consider myself a workhorse, not so much of a show pony. I lead by example. If something needs done, people come to me. I will continue that same work ethic if I'm sheriff. I'm dedicated to my work, and I won't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't or haven't done myself. As a small agency, I believe the sheriff should be a working sheriff. This means taking calls when needed, responding to calls to help keep the county secure. I'm community service minded with strong morals and ethics. The Abby and Libby investigation, it's always been a top priority for me. It will continue to be when I'm sheriff. Every day there are multiple investigators that are working on that case. It was something that was horrific and shook us all to the core. We've brought in people to assist us in that investigation, and we will continue to do so. We need to make it a priority to retain the staff that we currently have, that both in the jail and on the road. We're short 2 road guys at the moment, and we're budgeted for 7 jail staff, and we only have 6. It affects many aspects of what we do, including how we respond to calls and response time. I think we kind of could tell from the last guys that it's a nationwide problem. It's not a problem with just Carroll County. So we have to figure out ways to keep these people that already work here, keep them here. We need to be able to recruit and create bonds with our schools and Ivy Tech. Delphi has a law enforcement program as well as Ivy Tech. Other agencies have the same problems, and they tempt our people to leave with higher wages, sign-on bonuses, and things like that. The staff at the Sheriff's Office stays in Carroll County because, like me, they love Carroll County. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Lee?
Goodness gracious, you wouldn't want to have stage fright if you're sitting down here this evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Deb Lowe and the Carroll County Comment for sponsoring this debate. Special thanks to the Delphi School Corporation for providing this nice location. Isn't it wonderful we can still enjoy these types of activities in the United States of America the way things are going today? My name is Lee Hoard. I'm running for sheriff again. I served as Carroll County Sheriff from 1989 through December of 1998. I've been involved in law enforcement and the criminal justice system for over 50 years. Most of those years, I served right here in Carroll County. My extensive background in leadership, law enforcement sciences, jail operations and management qualify me as your best candidate for this position. I know my age may be a concern for some, but I assure you I am in great health. I specifically talked to my doctor about it, and he encouraged me to follow my heart and my passion. I assure you I am capable, and I am the best fit to be the next sheriff of Carroll County. Why do I want to be sheriff? Again, at my age, I want to continue to serve the Carroll County citizens in a position that I know well. I have served under and learned from 4 sheriffs prior to being elected sheriff. If you want to specifically see my training and experience, please visit my website at www.hoardforsheriff.com. I also have handouts with specific information that my wife has with her tonight that has my training listed in it. With all due respect, Major Mike Thomas, Detective Tony Liggett, I have twice the training and experience as both combined. I humbly ask for your support and vote in the 2022 Carroll County primary election. Thank you.
Okay then, who wants to lead off with the questions? Who wants to ask a question? Angie?
I'm Angie Brown, and I used to work for the Carroll County Health Department. One of the major concerns that, one of the big complaints that we got at the health department was animal control. And there's a vicious rumor going around that animal control may be done away with. So I'd like to know the stance on each of your positions with animal control. If you think you're going to discontinue it if you become a sheriff, or if you're going to continue it, and if you're going to continue it, you see more progress with it.
Angie, who would you like to start the answers with? Just name one.
Tony.
Oh. Thank you.
I think animal control is very important. However, it's not working right now. I don't know what has happened, but we currently only deal with stray dogs, and we can't take them anywhere. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. I'm an animal lover. I have 2 dogs and a cat at home myself. Animal control is definitely needed, and I would like to continue that, but just not how it's done right now.
Do you have any ideas about what should be happening?
Well, we need to find out why we can't take the dogs anywhere. I don't know that answer, so
Okay.
I think that would need to be investigated, and then I could have some more ideas. It's gonna cost a lot of money to start including cats. It's gonna take a lot of money to build a shelter, a Carroll County shelter. We're talking about human resource people and not being able to afford them. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to afford an animal shelter that we run ourselves.
Thank you. Lee, do you want to go next?
Well, it's interesting, the years that I've spent with the Sheriff's Department and how the animal control program has changed from year to year, and how people's attitudes have changed from year to year. I have noticed that, just from observation, I believe more people are getting animals than what they used to have. I see people out walking their dogs quite frequently and so forth. Animal control is a county-wide issue. I think it needs to be addressed not only by our county officials, but also from the city and towns throughout the county. I think it's going to have to be a combination of all of the entities put together to try to come up with a plan. I know several years ago, the local veterinarians used to help with the animal control and would house these animals and make disposition of them if they weren't claimed. But I think it's going to take a joint effort to be able to address this issue, not just on the county's council or the county commissioner's part, but I think also on the city leaders, the town leaders, because I think this is a problem throughout the county. I think it's just going to take some brainstorming and thinking outside the box to try to address the issue. Thank you.
Mike?
We have an animal control program, and it's not working quite the way we want it to. There is no place to take the animals right now. The shelter we were using, they wanted to retire. I don't blame them, they've been doing it for years. And the vets, they're not into that. They don't want to house other people's animals and have to deal with them coming in and trying to get their cats and dogs and everything else back. What we need is a building to take them to. And we can get the building probably, but how do you fund it? Well, there's people out there that will do this for us. We had this in the last time when we was looking at animal control. We could probably get somebody in there to run it for us. And then whatever they make off of it, they fund it. It's not a new problem, it's an old problem, and we've been doing it. I did it for 6 years at Tiffany County, or 5 years at Tiffany County. And it's not unique to anybody. There's other counties, some would call them animal welfare, some would call it humane societies and so forth like that. But one thing is certain is we have a dog and a cat problem, especially a cat problem, because we don't do anything with cats. There are programs out there that's called catch and release. So you get them, you bring them in, and you have them spayed or neutered, and then you take them back out where you were. And eventually the population of those start to dwindle down. And as far as the dogs, well, we can take care of that too. And a lot of them go ahead and do the same thing with them, neuter them and stuff like that. But there's much more to that. There's other crimes involved with animals, and those need to be investigated as well. So we need somebody that can investigate those and take care of the problems, because there's plenty of people out there that's their kids. That's what they love. And they don't want somebody hurting their kid. So there's a lot of issues going on right there, and then we just need to find out what it is and get to it. So part of that is a structured animal control program.
Who else has a question? Come on down. Be sure to state your name, please, and kind of who you want to start the discussion, please.
My name is Josh Dysinger. I'm a retired Florida police officer. Now I'm just a truck driver, but I live in Carroll County, eligible to vote. And I know all three of these men fairly well. Before I ask a question, if I could just make a brief statement. Mayor Hoard, Sheriff Hoard, respect your years of service. I appreciate it. Mike, I've known you for years. Great, nice guy. Tony, best friend in the world and mentor. Okay. Just so know, in case anybody's worried if I'm biased or not. Okay.
First thing I want to read to you was a quote by Colin Powell. It says, "Leadership's about solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you your problem is the day that you have stopped leading them. They've either lost confidence that you can help or concluded that you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership." During the opening remarks and the introductions, Major Thomas, you addressed that accountability was a big issue. And I think it's apparent that when these people up here that work for your department have a problem, they go to Detective Liggett. That speaks volumes from this quote.
Is there a question there, Josh?
Sure.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, can you lead this department and lead the men and women of the department? All right, I lost my train of thought trying to ask my question. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
You want to talk about leadership and,
But the leadership and accountability, although I wanted just to make it a point that the leadership is there. I don't believe it's in the current administration. And I just want to, I guess, know how each of you plan to address that accountability going forward, and how you maintain a good working environment with the employees that we have now.
And who do you want to start?
Sheriff Hoard.
Thank you, Josh, I appreciate that, and thank you for your time as a law enforcement officer for serving with the Florida Police Department. You know, it's interesting. At the last debate, I made some comments about, with the idea probably gonna make somebody upset again, the blue shirts that were in the crowd. One of the questions that was asked of us was, do you think a group of professional individuals, such as deputies, in name and in uniform, should promote one candidate exclusively on social media? Could this be seen as the police sticking together or free speech? In my opinion, employees of federal, state, or local governments, now keep in mind, this is my opinion, okay? I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. Our local governments, including law enforcement personnel, should not be promoting or slating a particular candidate. I think employees have a duty to those that they serve to publicly stay neutral. It's not best practices. It can come back to haunt you. Is it even ethical that you do something like that? I think not. Now again, this is just my opinion. Now as far as leadership, you know, I was appointed sheriff 2 years prior to my first election. And I had the council leader come to me after, I remember that evening, he came up to me after I was selected. There were 7 people that wanted to be sheriff for particular reasons. And one of the things he said to me, he said, I don't have any question about your law enforcement capabilities or law enforcement sciences, but we do question your leadership capability. Quite frankly, I question my leadership capability myself because I've never been in that position. One of the things I did the first 2 years that I was in office as sheriff was to attend and take all leadership training that I could get, because I wanted to show the people that doubted my leadership, including myself, I was capable of doing that job. And that's exactly what I've done. I think it is important. I feel like that you have to serve in a professional manner. You have to conduct yourself in a professional manner. And you can't have little cliques running around. It's got to be a complete teamwork concept, or it doesn't work. What do I expect from employees? I expect commitment. I expect professional conduct. And I expect everybody working together as a team. You know, there's no I in team anywhere. I lead by example. You know, you've seen the quote, I'm a proven performer. I've been a working sheriff. I will continue to be a working sheriff. And I want to see services to provided to this community and the citizens of this county in the best way possible. Because when it comes right down to it, the officer from the sheriff's department that has to answer your call, you deserve to have the best qualified person you can get, because you're not going to get any better than what they are. Thank you.
Mike, do you want to go next?
So that's an interesting topic to bring up because I've spoken to several other departments besides just some friends, and they're shocked by what they've seen. They can't believe that people in the department would wear a shirt representing somebody else. It causes division and other things inside the department. You want to talk about leadership? That's not a good way to lead. It causes hurt feelings amongst others. And I felt it. Other people in my department have felt it. About leadership. There's a lot about leadership. More than just leading people. It's about doing the right thing. Last debate we had people come up and said that they had calls that didn't even get responded to. There was 2 people in that. That takes leadership to get that fixed. Except there's actually 3 people that said it. One of them had said it took him 3 months to get somebody to take a theft report. Shouldn't happen. You can't go and throw parties with your buddies and expect them, if they get in trouble, that you're going to correct the problem. I don't think so. You need good, solid leadership. You need good people underneath you. We got good people. We do. But there's a few things that need ironed out. And that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, Tony?
Mr. Thomas is the chief deputy of the sheriff's department. I don't know what he's waiting on if there's problems to iron out. He's part of the administration. He can do that right now. He's had 7.5 years to be able to do that. We have a wonderful group of people that work at the sheriff's department, in the jail, in the dispatch. Those people want the accountability. Those people came to me, they want body cams. Those same people have high expectations, and they rise to the occasion every single time. And if they don't, we have a conversation. I'm the guy that reviews every report that comes to the sheriff's department and basically approves it. Is there more follow-up that's needed? What else needs to be done? I'm that guy that does it, and I'm the first one to kick it back and say, no, you need to do more. You need to do this. And they take what I say and they go do it. I hold them accountable as it is. That's what they want already.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I'm chief deputy. I tried to write up somebody once and I got thrown under the bus for it. So I haven't done it since. So that's part of it. That's 7.5 years of just having to stay where I'm at, put in my place. And as far as, there's a difference between having to write somebody up and just telling them to get a report fixed.
Lee, do you have anything else? Okay, sure.
A chief deputy has to have the same authority that the sheriff has. Chief deputy is going to be loyal to the sheriff. The sheriff's got to be loyal to the chief deputy. If the chief deputy says something, that is the same as coming from the sheriff. But you've got to support one another. You've got to have a loyalty, and you've got to have strength. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions that came to me was about body cams, and I think you said something about it, so that triggered my response. Are you in favor of body cams, dash cams, GPS in cars enabled, so that you know where the cars are going, that kind of thing? And let's start with Mike.
Absolutely, I'm all for body cams. I've actually got one. The prosecutor bought it for me, probably about 6 years ago, I think. And they're absolutely needed. I don't know how many times we get complaints on our deputies that something was done that really wasn't done. And when you can go back and look at the video and see it for yourself, you know, they say every picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, so are videos and the sound on them. And I think to have body cams, we need to find a way to get those. There are grants out there, but some of them are drying up. We need to get on it. A lot of the manufacturers will help you get those grants. And then some of them work together with dash cams as well. So that when you get out of the car, it gives you almost a 360-degree look at what's going on. And that's something we need. We also need our GPS working in our cars so that everybody knows where everybody's at. We recently had an incident where it took a while for the officers to find the other one. If we had GPS working in the cars, that wouldn't have been a problem. And for the officer's safety mainly. And it also allows us to look and see who's the closest officer, so the officer don't have to drive clear across the county when there was someone closer. We definitely need body cams and everything else that can go along with it. We need to find funding for it.
Tony, how about you?
Absolutely, and want body cameras, we used to have in-car cameras, and they all just quit working, and it's expensive to get them back. I actually looked into body cameras about a year ago. It's gonna cost, for the Axon, to do everything that Mike just talked about, when you get out of your car and it'll activate, it's gonna cost about $100,000. So it's not a cheap endeavor. There are grants that I believe we could get to obtain those things. Absolutely in favor of body cams. As far as the GPS in the cars, we have the modems and things to make that work, but our computers will crash. Most of our computers crash because they're so old. We need to get upgraded computer laptops in the cars to make that work. The guys wanted to. It is an officer safety issue. The guys want that as well. But it's not like dispatch gives us a call and whoever's closest doesn't say anything and lets his partner that's across the county take it. Generally speaking, you tell the dispatch where you're at, or dispatch asks where we're at, and we tell them. So it's really not a big problem as far as responding to calls and who's closest. That's taken care of.
And Lee?
Well, we all know with the conditions throughout the country today, that even if you do have body cameras, you're still questioning about whether you've taken the right action or whether you haven't. And when it comes right down to it, and lawsuits are filed because somebody didn't use proper conduct or follow standard operating procedures or practice policies. If you don't have proof to submit in court, kind of behind the 8 ball. So I, like the other 2 candidates up here, support body cameras, especially with sound. Having dealt with jail issues for 10 years, you know, they started out with recordings, and then if you don't have the audio, it's still hard to read into what's going on, what's being said. I respectfully disagree with Detective Liggett here on $100,000 for a camera system for this department. I think that's probably a little bit overinflated. I do think it's necessary that each officer have it. But the GPS system that it's my understanding is now installed at the jail, the current jail, and is capable of tracking cars. I can't understand why the GPS systems aren't working, other than the fact if it is computers, why haven't they been updated? Who's being held accountable for all these issues that we've got? Detective Liggett, I'll ask you. If you're the man in charge and you get things done, how come you haven't got this taken care of?
I'm Detective Liggett. I submitted quotes for body cameras as that was what I was asked to do. And you're kind of right, a little bit, if I could fit the body cameras, themselves are cheap. You can get a body camera for pretty cheap, almost nothing. It's the storage, it's the data storage that costs so much money. And that 100,000 I was talking about goes along the lines with what Mike was talking about, with all the bells and whistles, and you don't have to activate it. You draw your gun and it automatically turns your camera on. That was the top end. Cameras are cheap, the storage is what costs so much.
I'd like to respond to that. In dealing with jails, one of the things that was one of my issues that I had to take care of was helping sheriffs come up with a system that they could record incidents in their jails with, especially when they had issues with offenders that created problems. It was a recommendation at that time, because of litigation, that should have a recording system set up that at least records and saves for at least 90 days, and that was a 90-day minimum. With the exception, if you had a case where you thought it might come back, you might see it again, then you want to store that information, but not everything. So I understand about storage, and I understand about costs. I also helped in getting good systems put into the jails at that particular case. Again, I asked the question, who's running the department? Who's accountable for all this stuff? You gotta have a good leader.
Thank you. I'm gonna do a little lightning round of questions. So, yes or no, will you commit to posting a daily jail roster? This is from Lisa Vu, and she says Carroll County likes to compare itself to Tippecanoe County. Tippecanoe County and many other counties post their jail rosters daily. So, would you commit to posting a daily jail roster?
Yes, I don't see any problem with that.
Tony?
Yes.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. And, second lightning round, I don't even watch that show. Will you commit to making the public aware of each time you contact ICE to retrieve an illegal criminal, so we may apply pressure to our federal elected officials? Will you commit to reporting, making the public aware of each time you contact ICE? Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes.
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 Okay. And that was lightning, wasn't it? Who else has it? Who else has it? What? Okay, good. Good.
Hello, I'm Ed Selvig. I'm a volunteer chaplain, been with the department. I didn't get to serve with you, Lee, but I did get to serve with these guys. And so my background, I'm a retired minister. My background is leadership. And so I want to dovetail or piggyback on the discussion of leadership. But I want you to respond for yourself and not try to draw something out of someone else. I just want each candidate to respond in their own way, what they would do. My question is, as a young pastor, one of my mentors said to me, Ed, if you want to know if you are a good leader, once in a while you need to stop and turn around and see who's following. And so I took that to heart. And so today I want to ask, what evidence do you have personally that you can tell us that you are a good leader? Because when we elect you, we're trusting that you will be, we've discussed what a good leader is, we're trusting that you will be a good leader. So what, for lack of a better term, what empirical evidence do you have that you are a good leader? And we'll start with Mike.
Okay. Well, one of the first things I want to say is I had a cousin that was a World War II bomber pilot. He ended up being a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. And that's one of the questions I asked him. And I said, what is it about generals? And he said that the generals, they get to that position and they forget where they came from. And that means a lot to me. I get out there and I go with the general public out there. I haven't forgot them. I go and I talk to people all the time, just general people out there. Well, it doesn't matter what their walk of life is, doesn't matter if they're rich, poor, anything like that. And to gain their respect and to allow them to come up and tell you that they're proud of you, that's part of leadership. It's not just a matter of leading guys into war or battle or anything like that. There's a lot more to leadership than just that.
Tony?
Well, for starters, everybody's really coming down on the guys. January of last year, I spoke with all of them about running for sheriff, and they talked about aspects that they liked about me as a leader. That I was a guy that was getting things done, that was in the trenches with them, that they knew if they needed something or something bad was happening, I was right there with them. So when I turn around, I guess I see the blue shirts, as Lee calls them, and that makes me feel proud.
Lee?
I think you ought to feel proud, Tony, that they're wearing your shirts. I really do. I think I'd feel proud if everybody was wearing my shirt. I don't think it's proper. You know, I had an opportunity to work for 4 different sheriffs, as I stated earlier up here. And had an opportunity to work for a sheriff by the name of Jim Coghill. The 4th sheriff I worked for was Jim Coghill's son, Bill Coghill, who happens to be in the audience here this evening. And I learned a lot from him from a leadership standpoint because he came from Purdue University and had a lot of background and training and so forth. And Bill taught me that it's all about teamwork. One of the things that he told me that I've never forgotten, I don't know whether you'll remember this or not, but it's a heck of a lot easier to pull a chain than it is to push it. You've got to lead by example. I appreciate the comments that Tony said about the guys coming to him, and he was in the trenches with them. I really do. But you know, if you're objective, you've got to talk to everyone, not just one individual. And I think one of the things that I've been most disappointed in during this campaign is the fact that I've reached out to some of these deputies here, some of these guys in the blue shirts. I said I'd be willing to sit down and talk to you. Listen to your wants, your needs. What is it you want from a leader? How do I know what you want if you won't even sit down and talk to me about it? I never even got a response back from you. Now, how objective can that be? Thank you.
Who else has a question? Okay, well, Sheriff Lesenby has a couple questions. Do you want to come down and ask him? Okay, I will.
You have to have those questions.
Me too. Top of the page.
Yeah. Okay. So gentlemen, as with most
current businesses and employers, quality applicants are proving to be more and more difficult to acquire. Our business is no different. As the potential next sheriff, how do you propose attracting quality applicants to fill staff vacancies within the sheriff's office and the jail?
Choose one to start.
Lee?
Well, first of all, you've got to create an environment that people want to come to. You know, when I was sheriff, we had a reputation throughout the state of Indiana as being one of the best sheriff's departments in the state. And if you have a high-quality department, and people speak highly of you and know that you get things done, I think there are people out there that want to go to work for companies like that. I also understand that I see the help wanted signs all over the county, all over the state. So I know it's getting harder and harder. I know agencies keep lowering their standards to try to get applicants. I have mixed emotions about that, but I also understand the ever-changing times. You have to make people want to come and work for you. You can't go out and say this is the way it's going to be. I know today when young employees come in, saw the same thing happening when I was working for the Indiana Department of Corrections. It was getting harder and harder to get jail officers and to get them certified. Money has a lot to do with it. Some employees are motivated by attaboys. They want to know that they're doing good jobs. Some employees are motivated by money. They want to make good money. And as you all know, that there are plenty of agencies around Carroll County that pay a lot more than what we do. You know, that's really a tough question to answer, Sheriff. But I think you've got to create an environment where people want to work. And it's not done overnight. Thank you.
Tony?
So like I said earlier, you have to forge bonds with, like Delphi School and their kids in high school, they're going through the law enforcement class. We need to be there encouraging them to want to be police officers. Everything if you watch the news, everything's negative. There's nothing good about police anymore. So we have to go there and make these high school kids or college kids at Ivy Tech, we have to make them aware that it is still a very noble profession. Think outside the box. I've seen other departments making videos highlighting, their canine unit or their SWAT team or something like that. But you have to think outside the box and do things like that to try and recruit those people.
And Mike?
So one of the things I think we need to do, and it's going to start, and it's going to take a long time, but we need to get down into the schools. And we need to talk to the young kids and get them to understand what policing is all about. We need to get down and talk about to them, and it's just not about being a police officer, but just in general, the crimes that are being committed, the drug use that's going on, all the bad things that are going on in this country. But we need to show them that there's a positive light, and that positive light can be them. And then as they get older, hopefully, they will want to be police officers as well. And they want to do the right thing. That's what I think. We need to build that community trust. And one thing we're fortunate is that a lot of communities don't have, is we have a good community. We have a lot of good people that live in this area. And we just need to be more available to them. We need to stop being in our own little cliques. Police always want to hang with police, and we need to stop that. We need to get our kids interested in other things, not just sports, but to do the right thing and let kids realize that there's a safe place in this life for them.
Throughout this campaign, the word accountability has been brought up. Some would contend that hidden behind the thin veil of the word accountability is the thought or idea of micromanaging. As sheriff or supervisor, how do you intend to walk the fine line of trusting employees to conduct their duties responsibly, but also know they are appropriately conducting themselves professionally? Mike?
Well, I think you need more than just a chief deputy. I think you need some other line there. Corporals, maybe a sergeant, other people that can also help with that issue of accountability. When people call in and they don't get somebody, they want to speak to somebody in charge. And I think that's where we need to be. We need to train people to be supervisors and to let them know that there's somebody there they need to talk to that's higher than just the regular road deputy.
I don't view it as micromanaging. I think people want a line drawn in the sand and it's equal for everybody. Don't cross this line, this is bad. And you don't pick and choose who gets to, test that line or cross that line. Everybody needs to be on the same exact page. That makes for a good work environment. That's what people want. It's not micromanaging.
Sheriff, very good question. Appreciate that question. It all goes back to leadership and what your standards are. When you take over an agency or you take over any kind of organization, you've got to let your people know these are my standards and these are my levels. I expect you to perform at those levels. Now, I've been around long enough to know that when the cat's away, the mice will play. But they'll only go so far because they don't want to violate your level of standards. Micromanaging, I don't believe